Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe, Panther III.
Hey, hello there, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I'm Joe Panther III, and man, oh man, Ringside crew, you are in for a treat. Another episode that's on YouTube today on Thursday. Thirsty Thursdays here on Dudes at Ringside. You get twofer. So introduce yourself to my internationally known audience.
Hello, I am Jurgen Musabelliu. I'm a pro wrestler in Canada, also known as the Balkan Beast. So,
Oh, wow. Awesome.
yes.
So who trained you?
Rip Impact at HPW.
Wow. So what kind of advice did he give you on this big journey of professional wrestling?
Always bring your gear. That's one. Um, I think more or less a lot of what he does is kind of teach you how to be prepared for multiple scenarios, and just how to think about matches, how to get the best out of yourself and your opponent in matches, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Awesome. Let's flash a little bit further. What was your energy like the first time you stepped through the ropes for your first match?
My very first match in front of a live audience was at a like a festival. It was a fair show. So I was very nervous, but at the same time, it wasn't a wrestling crowd. So I knew like, hey, if this goes really bad, it kind of doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It'll matter to me because I want to have a good match every time I'm in the ring. Because I want to hold myself to a high standard because I love wrestling and I want to be a really good wrestler. But yeah, I was pretty nervous, but as soon as the bell rang, the nerves kind of went away on the first one because like I trained a lot, so I was prepared for once the bell rang. So
Awesome. Did you have your gears that you have now, or did you have another version of
no,
that or something?
no, I just had some shorts and I just had what I wore to training basically because it was kind of um, there were plans to have my first match and the group of guys that I started training with. We all started training at the same time and we're progressing at more or less the same pace. So we were all set to kind of debut on the first um, show together. But then the festival came about and the opportunity was kind of presented that week like, hey, if you feel you're ready, we can have you on this festival. And I was like, hell yeah, man, let's do it after thinking about it. But my gear, I can't remember if I had ordered it and it hadn't arrived yet, or if I hadn't ordered it yet. But yeah, I didn't have gear. I don't have custom gear yet still, but it's in the works. We're working on getting some of that. I just have a singlet that I found because I like singlets because I try and have a amateur wrestling style. But yeah, no, it was just a pair of shorts and a tank top of Spoingus. Do you know what Spoingus is?
No, what is that?
It's like a cat that went viral on the internet for looking kind of funny.
Which is that the one that's
So
like this or has a funny face or something?
it was just like the face was kind of like squished and it kind of looked weird. And it just went viral for looking funny, and I bought a tank top of it. So that was my gear for my first wrestling match, just a random pair of shorts and then a Spoingus tank top.
I was gonna say I know another internet cat that I follow a lot is Smush. I was like, it's Smush? 'Cause Smush has the smushed face, so I'm like, Smush the cat?
I haven't seen that one, but I'm assuming maybe it's a similar
Yeah,
kind
it
of
has a
kind of
cleft lip.
idea.
Almost looks like the cat has like a cleft lip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they call it Smush because the face is like that.
Yeah.
Um, within like you said from Canada, like how many different parts of Canada have you been to so far?
To wrestle, just Ontario so far.
Ontario?
I have trained out in British Columbia in Victoria. I was there for on vacation just to visit a friend, and I knew there was a school out there, so I asked Rip to, get in contact with Eddie Osborne out there that runs a school out there, and they were gracious enough to let me train there. So I trained 2 days there. It was a good experience training somewhere else. Um, I'd like to train all over Canada and eventually all over the world. At some point, I'm still very early into wrestling. I'm only a little over a year in, so still very new, but lots of time to hopefully travel the world if wrestling allows it. So
Yeah, it's tough to say that because you're a Canadian wrestler, but have you thought of coming to America and like taking the roots around? Because there's a lot of nice promotions, even though some areas are smaller than others. In PA, we have like 5 or 6 like just nice small promotions that you may not think that they're good, and then you'll find out the next day you're like, wow, I just had a 5-star match in a crowd and with a crowd with 10 people. You know
mhm.
what I mean?
I feel like that's common in a lot of wrestling where like I've been to shows that haven't drawn necessarily well, and then the show was one of the best wrestling shows I'd seen in a while, and I was like, indie wrestling is a different beast. You have some of the best wrestlers in the world putting on great matches, and there's just not the spotlight on it. And then there are some shows that draw really well and have good shows. But yeah, do you mean like moving to the U.S. or do you mean just traveling to train in
Just
the U.S.?
just traveling to train. That's what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. I'd like to. Absolutely. Yeah.
Where I live in the States, as I said, we have like Battlefield Pro Wrestling, which is owned by the son of the Wild Samoans. We
Okay.
have PPW, which is in Slatington, PA. They do their shows live on Spike TV on Fight TV a lot. We have New Era Pro Wrestling. Oh my gosh, High Grounds, another like a smaller venue show. Um, Smash Masters Wrestling. That's when they do a lot of small shows like in a brewery or like in a gym. Um, it's like a lot. There's a lot of wrestling.
Yeah.
So in tying with the wrestling stuff, like when you know you have like a show, do you train differently than you do on a normal day?
Um, I'm it depends, I guess. Again, I'm still very new. Um, so I haven't had many bookings yet. Like I've only had 14 matches, and
Wow.
some of them were the kinds where you show up and they just ask, "Do you have your gear on you?" And you do, and you have a match kind of last minute.
Oh,
Um, but the ones, if I'm always trying to learn new stuff just because I want to have like a big arsenal of stuff that I can pull out in case maybe I'm wrestling someone who's a bit bigger, so I can't do my typical moves. Maybe I have an alternative that I can do against them. So I'm always just trying to, in general, learn more stuff to do. Um, but I haven't had, I guess, that many matches where I've been booked ahead of time to train necessarily differently. But I don't know. I'm trying to stay ready for anything so I don't have to get ready for anything, more or less. That's kind of the mentality I have with training, whether it's wrestling training or weight training in the gym, just all of it. I'm just trying to be ready at all times kind of thing.
awesome. Are there any wrestlers that you've been dying to work with, male or female, that you've been wanting to, they're on your list to wrestle this year?
There's a lot of local people. Jax Williams is very good, and I'd love to wrestle him. Bruiser Battersby is very good. I'd love to wrestle him. Johnny DeLuca is very good, and I'd love to wrestle him. There's a lot of really good talent in Ontario. I don't know if the rest of the world really knows that,
I know
but
some of them.
there is a lot of great talent here. I mean, Fuerza's probably got a pretty big name. He was on the PWI list. Vertigo, Tarek. Um, there's just it's. I think there's probably too many people in Ontario for me to name, just because I want to work with everybody.
I mean,
Like,
this podcast would be 3.5 hours if you did. I'll be like,
yeah, and then
I'll be
that's
like,
not even mentioning like the internationally renowned people. Like, there's people like um,
we'd be sitting here the next day. I'd be just like, I need to get my coffee. Hold on,
yeah.
guy.
But yeah, there's a lot of people in Ontario that I'd love to wrestle. Some of those guys that I just named are near the top of the list. Um, Alessandro Del Bruno's up there as well. Yeah, just there's a lot of really, really good wrestlers in Ontario. And then, I mean, like around the world, there's guys like Chad Gable, which I mean he's in WWE, so that have
Makes me
to
sad, and
that have to mean
I
that I'd
wouldn't
have to
want to
get
sound
signed
like
with.
I'm like knocking Chad Gable, but as I like to jokingly say, he's good, but he's not in the indie scene right now.
Yeah,
we're this podcast is the internationally known dudes at ringside, but it's like because I'm local, I do a local. From PA, so I technically jokingly say I'm a little bungalow in the woods with a satellite dish on my roof that's too big. So I'm
yeah,
talking to the world. So it's like the FBI is going. Why does Joe have such a big satellite dish on his roof? Who's he talking to? Aliens?
yeah,
My friends at work told me, "Do you ever talk to regular talent?" I'm like, "What do you mean? They're all regular." No, no, Joe, like local. And I go, "The local people will have to open their message for it before I sit there. It's still buffering on my screen, like
mhm,
in my phone. I'm going, I'm never gonna hear from this guy, ever. Like, or I go to a
yeah,
show and I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm gonna to the ringside. Oh, that's cool, that's nice. And I'm like, pretty much, he blew me off without even saying no. No, thank
yeah,
you. He goes, "Hi, okay, nice to meet you." And in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, he just said fuck off." Without saying fuck off. He was like, "Hey, yeah."
yeah,
Because people think that doing a podcast, everybody's the same. I've had people tell me, "Joe, your podcast is completely different than others." I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "Yours does not feel like a podcast. It feels like you're at the bar, drinking a
mm,
beer, eating wings." Or I have never had this, and I'm from the States. I've gone to places that had it, and they're like, "Don't eat that because that's not really what it is." If I go to Canada, I'm definitely one of the first things I eat is first I'm gonna sleep because I know I'm gonna be tired as hell driving or flying to Canada. Then that for dinner, I'm gonna eat poutine. I'm gonna get a big bowl of poutine and just eat it like I'm eating my own French fries from America. Like I'm
oh
the
yeah,
just because I hear from George Mackay from Canada and a bunch of all my wrestling buddies, male and female, told me, Joe, you love disco fries, you'll love poutine.
poutine's pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
sometimes I
jealous.
forget that it's not really a thing all over the world. Living in Canada, it's like ketchup chips. Like that's not a thing in the U.S., but we
What?
have them here.
Ketchup chips?
Ketchup chips, yeah, from Lay's.
So it's just a bag of chips that's like ketchup?
Yeah, ketchup flavored. Yeah, they're really good too.
I
And I
guess
always forget that they're not a thing in the U.S.
I was about to say you can send me a bag, but I don't want you to get in trouble by the mail service. They'll charge you extra for that shit.
Yeah.
They'll be like, nope, 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 nope.
Also,
So
I'd like to add the tag team of Sinner and Saint to my list because I'm
Sinner
part of
and
a tag
Saint.
team with my partner Jelani Richardson.
Ooh.
I'd love to wrestle Sinner and Saint because they are pretty damn good to
Oh,
say
so
the
you're in
least.
a tag team too. So
Yes.
so let's go into it and talk about you and your tag team partner. Even though
Okay.
your tag team partner is not here to defend themselves, if you say something, he gets mad about it when he watches the
He's
show.
fucking garbage. No, I'm joking.
Oh, great! Oh, that's how the team separated on Dudes.
Starting the breakup angle already. No,
Oh,
I'm joking.
dudes at ringside causes breakups. Wives to stop sleeping with a husband. Great. No, when did you guys become a team, or was it like I interviewed somebody and they said their tag team partner was their biggest enemy and then became their friendly tag team partner. So when did you guys form this team?
So it was he's one of the guys that I started training with. There was four of us that started training together. There was a bigger group of us in our beginners class originally, but some of the guys didn't end up sticking around and sticking with it. But the four of us kind of stuck with it, and um, we have plans to create a faction eventually, with three of us. Uh, but at the moment, me and Jelani Richardson, we're just teaming. We have similar minds for wrestling, I guess, and we both appreciate and like tag team wrestling a lot. Um, and we both love tag teams that have cohesive tag team maneuvers, because I feel like some tag teams these days don't really have that. Um, but as much as maybe in the past. So we just have an appreciation for tag team wrestling, and we just get along real well. It's when we started training in November of 2023, it was the first time we met, but now it's like that's like a brother basically. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, no, we get along really well. We have similar minds for wrestling. We love tag team wrestling. We're like, all right, we want to be a faction anyways. We can be kind of like the tag team of the faction, in a sense. So yeah.
Awesome. Do you guys have like, I know most tag teams, they don't want to be weird and have they come out dressed like the Rockers in the same gear. Do you guys have like a similar touch to your gear, or is it like a work in progress?
Yeah, so we don't have custom gear like I mentioned earlier, but he bought a pair of like kind of Muay Thai fight shorts from the same website that I bought my singlet from. So we have matching gear in the sense that it's the same color scheme and the same kind of design, just two different types of gear. But we do have matching gear. We are in the process of getting some mock-ups made for our first set of custom gear. And once they're ready, we're going to send them off to a gear maker and then place that order and hopefully get some nice custom gear on the way. Um, but yeah, matching gear is a big thing for us as well. Um, just because I don't know, I've always loved the aesthetic when a team has matching gear. Sometimes when they come out and one person's dressed in like all blue and the other person's dressed in like orange, it's like, okay, that's I don't know. I like matching gear for
Mhm.
tag teams. I can see when people don't match, like it's fine, but I personally love matching gear for tag teams.
Sounds funny and hokey to me. I always think matching gear. I think of the Rockers coming out all covered in streamers and stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah,
did your mommy make you dress like that, or dress like each other, or did you want to look like a Ricky, look like the Rockers? Okay, like
yeah.
who made you who pissed you guys off today that who made you do it? Who pissed you off? Who made you guys dress like each other? Who did it? Who did it? Point him out. Point the mean man that did it. Who did it? Who did it? Like, who did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have like there's so many legendary tag teams out there from the 90s, from the 80s and 70s. So do you guys have any like idols to your team? Is there like any teams that you're trying to like homage to or anything?
A little bit, probably a little bit from a bunch of different teams. World's Greatest Tag Team is one of my favorites. And when they were Team Angle as well, Team Angle should have lasted a lot longer. That's a side thing, but
Yeah.
I don't know why they killed that as early as they did. But yeah, Haas and Benjamin, World's Greatest Tag Team. I always loved them. They have that amateur wrestling style, which I love. Um, Eddie Guerrero was my favorite wrestler of all time, so Los Guerreros. And like the Steiner brothers, the Road Warriors, just yeah, some of the just a mix of a lot of different types of tag teams.
Mm.
But those are probably like my four um, that come to mind immediately that I draw inspiration from. But yeah.
Awesome. Um, if my fans want to follow you on social media, and if they want to buy an 8x10 bite from you, even though they're from the States, like is there anywhere they can get that?
I only have an Instagram at the moment. Balkan Beast PW is the handle. I don't have an online merch store or anything up and running yet, but that's probably something that I should set up eventually. um, but yeah, I mean, I'll have 8x10s at shows coming up. I have some photos that have been taken recently that I really liked that I want to get printed for 8x10s. So I mean, if they come to a show in Ontario that I'm on, um, they can get them there. But to buy 8x10s internationally right now, not really. But that's something that obviously I want to get set up eventually.
Awesome. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast, and also want to wish you the best of luck on your wrestling journey. I am Joe Panther III,
I'm Jurgen Musabelliu.
and we will catch you in the next one.
Thank you very much.